Back to the book. Something had been snatched back from the disasters of the day. The remnants of the brigade headquarters, together with a few stragglers from other units, had now all arrived. In all, there seemed to be about 150 men with a half a dozen officers. As well as the brigadier, David, and myself, there was Jimmy Gray. The latter brought news that the colonel was probably dead, although he could not be sure as they'd become separated during a scrimmage with an SP gun. Of the rest of the officers who had jumped with the battalion, Captain John Simmons, the gunner, forward observer, was the only one left. Continuing. After about 15 minutes, a lull in shooting suggested that I might now be able to get round to visit the battalion positions. The battalion! For the first time it struck me that I was now in command of what was left of it. Pitiful remnants, but they are still fighting. The brigadier had allotted the south and west sides of the perimeter to us. The first pit held Sergeant Weiner with 7 or 8 men. At the bottom, his eyes shut, lay a gray-faced and motionless Private Gregory, shot through his stomach. Corporal Pritchard had bandaged him up and given him a shot of morphia, but because his airborne smock had been pulled down over his blood-stained dressing to keep as warm as possible, he lay there with no outward sign of injury, looking as a man might do who had collapsed with exhaustion. Gregory's eyes opened. When he saw who was standing over him, he asked for the favor. His voice was quiet, his words measured and coherent, his proposal quite logical. Out here, without the help of a doctor, he was going to die in any case, and he could stand the pain no longer. Would someone please put a bullet through his head? For the moment, my grip tightened on the Mauser. In Gregory's state, I probably would have been asking for the same release. If it did happen, I hoped that someone would have the guts to give it to me. Then I caught Weiner's eye, and he knew that I could not do it. The only way to help Gregory was to give him a further shot of morphia, dangerous though it would be to do so. As I reached for my own ampule in the breast pocket of my smock, I was ashamed by my reluctance. The reason was purely selfish. Sooner or later I might want to use it on myself, wounded and alone behind a bush with no one about to help me. But Sergeant Weiner came to the rescue. He had scrounged a supply of ampules from somewhere or another. Opening the small black tin, he bared Gregory's arm and pressed the needle home. The words of sympathy and encouragement sounded pitifully trite as I pressed Gregory's shoulder. Nervous of any reproach which I might see, I turned and walked away without looking at the wounded man's face.